Hi everyone, and welcome back to Floral Observations. I'm Garrett.
And I am Matt.
And we are moving on to episode 4 of the Big Floral Fight, and it is all about giant edible thrones. Matt, tell us about this episode.
Well, as you said, it is all about giant edible thrones, hence our crowns today. But our guest judge for today's challenge was none other than Melissa Richardson. And they, Melissa and Christian wanted, quite a few things that they were looking for on this challenge. They wanted to make sure that the throne itself was 8 feet tall, at least. And they were given a base structure. I believe, I don't know what the sizes were on that, but it was like this kind of wooden base structure that they could start.
It was an all metal welded.
It was all
had
metal
the same
welded,
size.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all metal.
Base size that was not within the measurements, so you had to build up off of it.
Yes, it was on the smaller side of that. Definitely not 8 feet tall. They have to have their throne had to have a full fantasy storyline. It couldn't just be like, this is a royal throne. They wanted to know the fantasy. They give me the story, give me all of it.
Be creative.
Exactly. There was an emphasis on edible food. They were thrones that were at like a harvest gathering, so they wanted them to emphasize on edible food, things that are none in a harvest, or plants, flowers that you will find at harvest time. And they had 15 hours to create this giant throne.
I'm here for it. I love fantasy. What would your story be? What throne would you do in this case?
Well,
what would your story behind it be?
I think right now I just have to go with something that matches my crown, with this like apocalyptic, like post-corona,
She's Fred Flintstone, glamorous, on Mad Max Fury Road. That's what I'm
the last king ever. Ever.
I think I would do kind of like my same crown. Like stories that are so easy, I would go Shisha, like Birth of Venus, like give you a throne that is like almost ostrich plume on the back, all white, pearls everywhere. Because white flowers and green, love the fantasy. Hitting anything with a blue foliage, fantasy, quick, painless, don't overthink it. That's fine. That's fine. You can eat it. It's gonna have paint on it. I would still find shades of silver, blues,
some
and
of
white.
these teams fell into during this challenge.
Absolutely. So let's get into it.
Let's
get into the fantasy. I'm gonna take this off because I'm gonna be flying everywhere.
Go for it. Team 1 was HENCK and HAWAIIAN, and they are they did a horn of plenty, a cornucopia.
Cornucopia.
And I'll go ahead and start this one. I'm gonna start off strong with a big old bloom. I think we all know by this point, with 3 episodes in, this is episode 4. I love HAWAIIAN and HENCK and HAWAIIAN. I think they are a fantastic team. I think they are super creative. I love their vibe. I love what they're putting down. I am picking it back up because it is great. They did this cornucopia, the Horn of Plenty. They made their structure. Oh God, it was way more than 8 feet. I don't know how tall it was,
and
but I'd say
it's a minimum of 8 feet.
There had to be
the teams have to remember a minimum.
So they
went for it.
Beautiful willow, braided it up into the corn shape. They, it looks like almost hops or some sort of vine, all
they
over
use
it.
hops, yep.
They did a beautiful goat's head out of barley and wheat. Filled it with vegetables. Oh my God, it was stunning. It's a bloom for me, if not a show bloom. It's up there. I love it. I think when I think of Harvest Throne, it's definitely like the more literal adaptation of it. But I think it was very successful 100%. Because if that is the thing that they do best is like bringing all of it. And so they, even though they did the one that you think of, they did it. They did the damn thing. They brought it all. So I'm here.
I completely agree. I unfortunately I'm just gonna give it a bloom, like a normal bloom. It's not that shabloom to me. I do agree with the judges. It skirts that line of, is it a throne? And we'll see that in other ones also, because if you look at the seat of it, it has to still be sat in as a throne.
Yeah.
They did but they didn't create the actual seat division. It's more pile.
Here's my defense of that,
and then you can tell me what you want.
I'm sorry, you're right.
I love it. I like the colors. I like how they did the vegetables and they focus on not just vegetables or fruit or foods that could be eaten. They focused on using the plant material. People think all roses can be consumed. Not all roses can be consumed. Not all parts of plants can be consumed. They did a really smart thing with the hops. My question is, when you look at them, they do look dry treated like we get them, and that has chemicals on them. So that's what's keeping them so solid and what gives them that like solidness that they have.
The rigidity.
So yeah, and we do see the judges go after some people for not having fully edible thrones. I see what the judges are saying with it questionably being a throne or not throne, but I bloom it because to me, if you are a giant, you are a mythical creature. We are creating a fantasy. They could sit in this. This is a throne. Like, is this creature they created, the thing actually sitting in the throne? They created an interesting harvest thing. They also had intention. When they look at it, like you said, they went with what you kind of expect from harvest, but they did it with such an intention and creativity that while you have this creature in muted, soft, neutral tones, it captivates. It's unique. It's very finely detailed. Bloom for me.
Can I give my defense now of the one thing that you were saying about this?
If you must, yes.
Is that those are all loose vegetables.
That's true.
To me, that's part of the harvest. That's part of the cornucopia. They can all be easily removed and there is a seat there. It's not like they created the seat part of it out of those vegetables, and it's not, you can't sit there. You can.
Yeah.
So that's my defense of that. Like, all you gotta do is move the vegetables to the harvest basket, and there you go. Then
my counter defense is I was told we made a throne, not something that would be interactive and had to move to sit in the throne. Well, either way, it's a double.
You want to be comfortable, you gotta fluff the pillows, as I always say.
Well, the pillows are probably going to be rotten, so the next team, double bloom. I think it's a double bloom. But our next team, I like the idea. I did not love the execution. ANDI and HELEN made an ancient Greek throne. We've seen some amazing Mediterranean architecture and vibes. I'll start with this. I am going to give this a soft prune. It's not enough edible products to me. There's a lot of foliages, there's a lot of plants, but when you really get into the design of the throne, not the accents on the ground with tomatoes and things like that, they just had a few plants like squashes or pumpkins. A lot of it is more foliage based, which if it was herbs or if it was more focused on just being foliage with intent, I probably would have been more to it, but I think that the throne structure overpowers the plants. It doesn't look finished. So I don't have a distinct color harmony. I don't have really design technique or skill. Not even skill, just techniques in it. So I needed more mechanic. I needed more details in it to say, this is the throne of somebody that is a mythical creature or the harvest king. It didn't give me the presence of a throne. It just was like, here's some stonework with a lot of vegetation on it and moss. So
100%.
It's
right
a throne,
there.
but it's a prune.
I think it's very obvious that it's a throne. It's very obvious that their interpretation is a Mediterranean throne. It's just lacking something to me. They did the marble paint treatment on the wood of the throne there. To me, it looks like a marble paint treatment on the wood of the throne. Like, there's something that just doesn't translate from the softness of the foliage around it to the hardness of this, the surface that they want to be marble.
Yeah.
It's just not necessarily successful to me. It's a firm. I love HELEN and ANDI. They're really, I think they're a really great team. I love their energy.
I also question the element of ancient Greek throne. Like, to me, I don't distinctly just go to marble with some pillars. I want Mediterranean color. I want something that ties Greek culture. And I don't know the plants they have available, but I think they could have went a little bit more focused in the realm of vines or something that is edible but more Greek friendly. So,
like, let me see a plate. I don't know, if I'm thinking an ancient Greek throne, there is going to be a plate full of grapes nearby.
Absolutely. Or at the time, they love their face on stuff. We saw other teams that we'll get to use faces or use more historical items. I know that
a
green,
little like
love
Medusa
gold.
head up on
Yeah,
there
like give
or
me
something.
some kind of god to it. Take the story and go for it. Just really bite onto it. So unfortunately, double prune. It's nice, but it's just a base. That's what it was, just a base.
So our next team, team 3 is Owen and Declan, and they did a Neolithic stone throne.
Yeah.
And I have mixed feelings about this.
Give us every feeling you got.
Owen and Declan, basically they took the base that they were given, that stainless steel base, and they were like, nah, I'm good, think so. And they
understand carpentry. It's understanding that as a team, they're one of the few that understands good carpentry. So
they built this structure, this throne structure, and it is really cool. It is a cool throne, and I get the Neolithic stone throne. Like I kind of get it a little bit. It's also the stone effect that they did isn't there all the way. And I feel like that's just one of those things, if you're really going to commit to that, then you need to be able to do it well, especially in a competition like this. I feel like if it was soft, like, I don't know, softened is a weird word because when you're thinking of stone, but like it's just there's 90-degree angles all over it and all that. Like if it was more rounded, if it was more naturally looking like stone, this would absolutely be a 100% bloom. Because the designing on it is great. I love the willow. I love the plants that they chose. It gives me, there's still a lot there while it coming across minimal because of the way the line follows everything. And so I really like that aspect of it. I just don't like the execution of the throne itself. I'm gonna give it a bloom. I just think it would have been a more effective bloom had the chair itself, had the throne itself not been full of 90-degree angles. The entire thing is full of 90-degree angles.
Well, we're just gonna have one of those episodes where we kind of disagree on some things, because I agree with you on stone. Stone ages. Neolithic stone was, if you think of like Stonehenge, it has not, like you were saying, softness, it's weathering. It is a piece of nature. I need some kind of holes or some moss or some interaction in depth and texture. I don't like the plant materials used at all. Not in a design aesthetic, but right along with what the judges said, they used poisonous plants. They had no emphasis or focus on edible plants. And that's a problem when it is a giant edible throne. Gorgeous flowers. If I was looking at this as just a design challenge, gorgeous. Give me trees growing out of this thing. But they were the only team to actually choose, and were quite aware they had poisonous flowers, but they aesthetically liked it. Design intention.
I guess I missed that part.
I took notes. It is beautiful, but it is not stone. It's too exactly hard for Neolithic stone. Think of someone trying to hit something with stone. It's going to have rougher edges. It's going to be misshapen. It's not going to be this exact tearing of like wood almost. They just missed the mark, and they spent so much time on this. This goes into one of those, you focus too much on one aesthetic and one detail, and it lacked elsewhere. So this, to me, is a prune. It, again, did not fit what the judges asked for, didn't fit what you chose as the topic. So unfortunately, Ian and Declan, it's a prune. She ain't it, sis. She's beautiful as a design, but not as an actual challenge. So
leads us to our next
ones.
Yes, our next designers, Raymond and CHANELLE.
I'll start with this one if you are so inclined.
Go for it.
This was, spoilers, this was the one that was eliminated. Absolutely was eliminated. It was a good concept. It was a good idea. And surprisingly, Matt and I have done the detail they were trying to do and had the same issues in a competition. It is flat. It is beautiful and interesting as a texture, but it is too on point of this is a throne and this is what a throne looks like. I don't know what this shape is, but we see it a lot in some of the other thrones, and it's so stereotypical. It's so to the point. The bottom of the arms aren't finished to the actual swords and the arms of the chair. We Oasis glue all of our pieces are glued with Oasis. You don't see hairs in there. You don't see any kind of weird, any of that. You can take pipe cleaners. You can take just a simple soft brush and pull it over and it'll catch those hairs. It ain't it. I get what they're trying to do. I see the fashion aspect of having that pattern and having a padded chair, but they needed to create more lumps in it with something soft or with they could have taken paper, covered it, stapled it on, then you have those billows of a big chair. If you're going to do something so expected and stereotypical, it has to have such finite detail. Just like we had seen with HENCK and EOGHAN, it has to have that wow or oomph factor to what it is. The wings, we've done with doors, we've made entrances to a competition. It has to have that anchor point because it's free flowing and flying. So we were able to hide the anchor point, but you have to have something that holds it where you want. They're never gonna get that completely flapping wing situation. So they lost the winged part of their royal wing throne. The color harmony, I get that they're doing vegetables, but it is edible products. You could have had roots, you could have other plant products in it that say royal to me. They emphasized choosing colors that are royal, but then the colors are lost. I get that you're using purples and reds, but there's so much overwhelming of glued on broccolis and such of that sort. Use the whole head of broccoli and create pillowing on it. Like, it was just overthought and over-designed. So to me, it's a prune, unfortunately.
It is a prune for me too. I'm not even gonna go really say anything else about it because I think you hit all of the spots. Yeah, it's a prune. Sorry guys, I like Raymond and Chanel. I thought they were a great team. I thought they had some interesting ideas that I really enjoyed. But yeah, no, it's a prune.
I love the next team. The next team was Ralph and Jim. They made an English Trug basket throne. You want English? You want harvest? Let me give you an English harvest basket. Oh my God, I love this. I love how they did the wood. I love how they chose the plants. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm gonna start. I totally bloomed this. To me, the technical skill put into this, and you saw them struggle and then thrive with it. This to me was a shabloom because they had such intent. They really found themselves in this design. One side is herbs and has a specific look to it. The other side is another look. There was a spot to sit and enjoy because you're on a picnic or you're just eating your food from your sides. I like how it spills over and how they did vines. They even covered their base really nicely that the basket sits on. Shabloom, have your fantasy. This was really well done. Colors, really well selected because they're all natural tones. While you have the touches of natural color from the fruits and vegetables and plant life like the tomatoes and whatever, it is all still an overarching natural color harmony with those accents. The detail of the wood and technical skill of that, shabloom.
Yeah, girl, she's a shabloom. She's a shabloom for me too, for sure. This is beautiful. I love the basket weaving. The bottom, the base. Literally like what some people consider a throwaway part of designs. Really, like the base is one of the most beautiful parts of this whole thing. It's gorgeous. Even they did the base like that weaving. They even did it kind of within the sides where you sit. Another thing that I loved that I thought was really, I'm gonna use the British term, really cheeky, was that they put a tiny trug basket as like it was one of the things that was being harvested in the trug basket. Which
like the giant took someone else's trug basket.
Exactly. They
it
were
was
just walking
so
the
much
field
intent.
And saw this. I loved it. It
Absolutely,
was so good.
yes.
Shabloom. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
Yeah,
Shabloom.
there's not much to say when it's just so good. Oh, my heart breaks. We go from that high and then we fall back down.
I'll take this one. Hawaiian Volcano Throne from Sarah and Jordan. I want with all of my heart to give this a bloom, but I'm sorry, ladies, I can't. I think that there were some really amazing ideas that were selected. And some really some things that I thought were really, it was the only interactive design. Sarah had a dry ice volcano giving off smoke out of the woman's mouth. It was planned. It was planned to be there, and so I'll give her the credit for that. I like the flower choice that they did have with the ginger and things like that. They did, the
So
peppers. They chose pineapples, the tropical plants, the tropical harvest. When it comes down to it, there's just not enough plant matter on it. And a lot of the plant matter that is on there is glued directly to the surfaces. So, and with hot glue. So like that's not edible. Maybe made with edible materials, but it's definitely not edible, sis. I do love the way that they stained the wood back with the turmeric. I thought that was really a fantastic idea. I thought it was super genius.
That was so smart.
I just wish then there would have been some other sort of plant material on it. Like, it's a great base, then put some plants on it. Not like it's the base that is then visible. So I'm sorry, ladies. You know I love you. I love you so much, but it's a prune for me on this one. I think you were so close to being there. It just didn't get there. And I can understand. I'm sure that with every one of these challenges that goes on, it's like more mounting pressure and more time to get in your head with this and second guess it. And I love the concept and I love the thought behind it. I just don't feel like it was fully carried out the way that they wanted to, and I think they knew that.
Yeah. I agree with a lot of your points. I think they did what we say all the time about competition. When people go up, you go down. When they go left, you go right. If they're going blue, you're going orange. That's exactly what they did. Only team to touch tropicals. They last, for the most part. You're using gingers and a lot of longer lasting things. The color harmony would have been great, but like, she is a prune. I think it was one of those, you had too many ideas and you're trying to do the kitchen sink and it all just, you focused on the wrong things with the wrong emphasis. So like the peppers needed to go all the way up and there needed to be something in between. The smoke was fine, but like, who is the lady in the middle? Because they said it was a Hawaiian volcano. They never really talked about the goddess, except for when they were building it to the camera. But when they were talking about the actual throne, they may be talking about it in a cut that I didn't see because it's a TV show. But the goddess does not fully fit into the throne idea to me. She's the back of the throne, so you're gonna be sitting in front of smoke. The smoke pellets was a good idea, but like, when you're sitting there stressing out and the judges are like, and they're just staring at you.
It needs to be a seamless thing.
And like, even if you get it to work, it was like, it didn't really work. That's the problem. Like, no matter if smoke came out of her mouth, it was such a struggle that it wasn't a full cohesive design. It's all the foods on the bottom, just at the base of the throne. It's not incorporated into the throne. Just details. I like the edging to the top. I do not like the shape of the throne. If you're going Hawaiian, Hawaiians had a distinct, they had royalty at one time. I think one of the last royals had just recently passed away in the last few years, but they had more of those rounder, bigger shapes. Like, there was, just aesthetically, it looks
those beautiful peacock chairs,
finished. Yes, there's a distinct style. I get it, I love it. I like the use of tropicals. There were smart decisions that just didn't have time management. The turmeric, while I agree with you, it's beautiful, I think it goes to waste here. You could walk up and just say it was painted if you didn't know. So maybe use that technique in something else. But as someone that's used coffee and many more natural materials, I do appreciate the natural material being used. So it's a prune. It ain't it. And they were in the bottom for it, and deservingly so. So double prune.
Our next one is Ryan and Andrew, and they were actually our winners for the week.
Winters. Was this their first win?
No, they won.
This is their second win. No, this is their first win. I don't know. They're winners either way.
They won for the beasts.
Did we get?
That was episode.
We're not there yet.
3.
Either way, they won. They did Merlin's Throne, and it is everything. I'm gonna start. For those that know, I always have like 3 high fantasy, science fiction novels on me at all times. It's my thing, is video games, artwork, really high fantasy world. So when they said Merlin's Throne, I was like, yes, give it to me. They went there. When you think of when I think of harvest, I think of Druidism. I go to that weird realm of you have mysticism in it. So when they're sitting there putting aluminum foil on one of their faces to shape it, making the candy was so smart. They took and made edible candy to look like
crystals,
alchemical shards. And they also looked at edible plants and flowers in a different way. They looked at it in a potions and alchemy way. So everything had design intention and focus on being medicinal or having some positive interaction. To me, this is a shabloom. This killed it. And the details, I was worried about the stone, but they did really well and created weathered stone. This is what the original stone throne we've already seen should have went towards. What is Neolithic stone? This is it. This was hard to achieve.
When I saw them start to create this look, this stone look, I don't know if y'all know how if you paid attention, they literally wrapped aluminum foil around like chicken wire, and I was like, I'm sorry, boys, but what the hell are you doing?
Sent Matt a message. The second it happened, I sent a message to Matt. I was like, they have aluminum foil on this form. What are they doing?
And he's like, they started spray painting it, which I want to know what kind of spray paint they use, because every time that I've ever used would have chipped off. But what parameter?
They said that was a problem that they were having. They said that the judges were in the background doing their background thing. They said that one issue was when edges and stuff, they were starting to see silvers or they were getting chipping. But you are correct. It didn't just come right off.
Yeah, that's it. Is,
and it may have been a different aluminum foil to the UK also.
Yeah, something with a little texture to it instead of a smooth.
Or isn't non-stick kind of situation. So.
But I thought it was so successful. It's definitely a shabloom for me. I love that they created 4 legs within the 4 stone legs that hold, you can kind of see through the base of the throne, which not everyone did. Most people have these very solid bases. And for something that you're doing that is going to have so much weight, not only is that ambitious, but it also then stands out when everything else is done. And so I thought that was a really wise choice. I'm into it. It's a shabloom. They have the grapes that I think were needed in the Greek throne.
They are one of the shadier, more competitive teams. So if they know somebody else wants it, they're going straight to the intented design pieces. And I think it really started here. They knew exactly what they wanted, and whatever was going to be the hardest thing to get, they grabbed it. And everything else was like, okay, I'll get that next. So I totally agree with that.
So that's a double
One
shabloom.
thing I wish though, it is a double shabloom. One thing is I wish they would have incorporated plants because of what the task was. Their roses had died. There wasn't a consciousness to the survivability of their plants on the throne. Gorgeous still, but when you look at it through judging, all the roses are already hanging down and dead as plants.
There's some celosia that's kind of growing up from the base, it looks like, but then again, that's all around the base. It's not necessarily.
Yeah, I just would have liked to have seen, even though it's vines and stuff like that, some more care for the selection of the plants.
I love the bean stalks hanging down off
the beans are so good. What they chose was great and the detail was great. It is a double shabloom, but just a little more like you in a plant competition. Show me some plants.
That's it. That's all the contestants.
So we're starting to whittle them down. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna agree on this, but what is your bloom of the week? Mm-hmm. Absolutely, that is mine. It's, yeah. But the concept was not as developed as that basket. The base to the actual basket, the basket's on the inside, the placement and intent of their plant, which was a focus. If we go back to the prompt, the intention of how the plants were used within your design and your story. So good. Yeah, the material use was great. So congratulations, Bloom of the Week. Yeah, sometimes you never know. Matt and I have agreed so far. on our bloom of the week, but you never know what's gonna happen. Our opinions mean nothing. They're just our observations. But yeah. So, opinions on the overall show. Give me one thing that you would like to change or you appreciated in the show this week. Would you like me to start? Because you know I have opinions and observations. Ain't nobody paying me and nobody paying these bills, so I'll give whatever opinion or observation I have, because whatever. But I think that these designers should be winning a mini prize with their bloom of the week. You have Oasis floral products in that tent. If you look, they're all using the same tools on a tool set. That is a sponsor that could be winning a tool set at home, especially for novice designers. Anybody in this industry loves some fresh new tools. The surface they're working on or the product they're using, certificate for however much to go towards a floral project. It's just so much easy promotion afterwards. If you are winning this challenge with a harvest giant themed, where did the vegetables come from? You win however many vegetables or whatever. Like, you win whatever the focus is that week. If it's floral fashion, who were all the dried flowers provided by because they were beautiful and wonderful? I have no clue. Yeah. So I think if they're winning bloom of the week or if there's a certain product, I would like to see the show more emphasize on that. And it's not that difficult to be like, you've won an Oasis prize package. And Oasis can be like, here you go. You've won this tool set. And I'm pretty sure they probably get to keep the tools that are there, but there's certain things like the drills and like things I don't own, I could find a spot for in my house because after this show, they've learned how to use them and incorporate into their design. So I would like to see more celebration. I think the ribbons are freaking hideous. I think what they're winning is trash. Who wants an ugly? I don't know if that's a UK thing. I don't know what that is, but they're hideous. And to whoever's making them, please go move to Texas and make corsage mums because they're ugly. But I think they could be winning way better prizes. And it is season 1. They're testing that water. They're putting their toe in. You're Netflix. I know that you could be elevating the winners way better when they win individuals. So let me have it. Mm-hmm. It's his personality is not that of a host. And once you get used to that very calm, very like he's a calm, laid back person, to me, there is a lack of energy for a show. But when you get used to it, it's kind of like the show when you look at it differently. I love Natasha and Vic. Like, I love them. They are bringing so much to this show, and I love everything about it. All right, so that was, well, we finished up episode 4. It's episode 5, and we are, I don't know what we're getting into. I move one episode at a time. Episode 5 is Magnificent Mobiles. And again, you know, Matt and I, we love to push the limit. Mobiles is the shaboop. Is it a bridal bouquet mobile? Is it earrings? Is it a full chandelier? Mobiles can be anything. So join us in our next episode of Floral Observations, where we are going to episode 5 of the Big Flower Fight, Magnificent Mobiles. Thanks for joining us today. Do you think that the winners deserve to win? Which one was your favorite? What would you have made as your floral throne? Any parting words, Mr. Matt? Oh, here, let me put it on. Word. Absolutely. Thank you for joining us, friends, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Bye!